Let's take a moment to consider the idea of fate versus free will. One of the main problems with astrology is that people can become rather fatalistic with it. They look at a chart, they see certain indications, and they think that's just the way it's going to be. And it doesn't help that there are astrologers out there who promote that. And the problem with that is astrologers promoting it is that oftentimes astrologers don't read things correctly, and they don't admit that they might not be right. And so what happens there is that they give information and they end up scaring people, or they give them false hope, and neither of that is helpful. So overall, what we need to do is look at astrology as trends, almost like weather patterns, possibilities. Now, the mind of God is vast, and if we could see with the mind of God, we could probably predict everything easily, accurately, but it's beyond these 3 or 4 dimensions that we inhabit. And so I think it might be beyond the capacity of our current understanding. But at times, an astrologer gets a glimpse, or the technique they're using is perfect in regards to what the client or the individual needs to know. And the reason I bring this up is because you don't want to treat astrology in a superstitious way, and you don't want to rely on astrology for everything. We're here to live, to make choices, to overcome challenges. And if we're always looking to astrology to see what's going to happen next, or when's the next thing going to go bad, or when am I going to magically manifest $1 million? If you're thinking in that way, you're not consciously trying to figure out how can you be successful in certain areas, or how can you avoid difficulties. You're not learning and growing. You're just assuming that it's all just going to work out one way or another. And of course, it is all going to work out one way or another. But what we fail to realize is that our thoughts, our current states, influence our futures. And there's a strange thing that we probably live in a multi-dimensional existence. And the more that we stay locked into one pattern, say the birth chart, the more unconscious we are, the more likely the promise of the birth chart will happen. But the moment that we start thinking a little bit differently, or imagining a different possibility, or taking a step in a different direction, you can look at it as though you're shifting your consciousness from one particular plane, one particular universe, to another. And it happens very gradually, within millimeters. But the more you do it, those millimeters start to add up. And whereas before you were on a path of total destruction and sorrow, well, now you're a little bit left of center, which means that you're still going to experience some difficulty, but you're leaning a little bit more towards a positive existence, a peaceful existence. All because you shifted your thoughts. So when it comes to fate and free will, things are fated so long as we're unconscious. And some things are harder to overcome than others, meaning that when you're looking at a birth chart, you might see 10 different combinations for wealth and business success. That's a pretty intense karma, which means that no matter how hard you try to fail, you'll probably still be successful because you have all this momentum going in that direction. You can still fail if you try hard enough. But let's say that you have a karma for serious illness or genetic predispositions. If you don't do anything about it and you keep living in the way you're living, which supports negative health experiences, you'll probably experience that. But if you become aware of it and you start learning new things, start learning new ways to be, things to do to improve your health, exercise, diet, more positive thinking, stress relief, then that changes the odds in the favor of living longer and living healthier. The birth chart is the static promise, meaning from the moment you were born, this is what's possible. After you're born, if you keep reaffirming those habits and tendencies, more than likely it will continue. But if you become aware of it and you decide, I don't want that, and you start putting attention towards other things, even though there might be very strong karmas going in a negative direction, you at least want to try to move it in a positive direction, just to change it a little bit. And again, over time, that gets stronger and stronger and stronger until you realize yourself as an aspect of consciousness with a willpower, with the ability to decide and to choose. And then eventually you experience something different. So fate and free will is a sensitive topic. And you can look at it just one more way here, if you bear with me. If we're looking at this from a spiritual perspective, and you want to transcend all of this, then what you do is you do your best to live a productive, healthy, supportive life. Difficulties come, fine. You don't react to them. You let them pass. You get therapy if you need to so that you let go of the inner attachments. And in time that karma exhausts itself, you wake up, you're clear, you're liberated, you move on to other realms or deeper states of understanding. Or you can look at it as though you are this infinite consciousness, and everything that you experience is an aspect of your will, of your choice. And so you are eternal and immortal, and you're going to be around forever. And your current state is the result of where you've been. So if you're going to be around forever, why not start taking the actions, the thoughts, the deeds, the effort to move where you want to be? So that way, 500 years from now, you're going to be around that long, one way or another. You are now in a state that is more in line with peace and clarity and success in the things that you want. But it might take 500 years of your consciousness thinking and being differently. But the difference is that fate occurs when you are unconscious, when you just let things happen based on your past habits, your past impressions, your past conditioning. Free will occurs when in the moment you see what's already happened, you see what's occurring, you can't do anything about that, but you decide you want to put your attention in another direction. And you can do that through behavior modification. If Saturn says, Saturn and the moon together are showing a person with a depressed personality, well, you can continue in that vein, or you can decide that for some reason you're going to make yourself happy. You're going to go for a walk, you're going to exercise. You're going to choose deep down inside to feel something different, even if it feels fake, until it becomes natural. Because you've gotten yourself into that state of depression because you've allowed it to occur, or you've chosen it for whatever reason. Sometimes we enjoy feeling sad and sorrow. That's why we have all of these pulls towards nostalgia and things that are lost and things that are in the past, and we have these lost love stories, because there's a part of our human consciousness which enjoys that, believe it or not. And then you decide, I want to feel inspired. I want to feel that my work has meaning. I want to enjoy what I am doing. So you start putting your attention in that direction. And there you are, changing your fate, choosing your free will. And it takes time, might take a day, might take months, might take years. But as long as you stick with it, eventually that fruit ripens, just like your current situation has ripened based on your past experiences. And you can change these with gemstones, with mantras, again, behavior modification, yagyas, service. Service is the best one. If you have some sort of difficulty, find someone that you can help. So it gets your mind off of yourself, and it also supports another aspect of consciousness. But with this free will, you need to find what really resonates with you. If you like gemstones, if you enjoy gemstones, you think about buying them, you think that they empower you, do it. That will help. If you prefer to do service, that feels more realistic to you, do it. If you think behavior modification, the practical way, do it. Find the one that resonates with you. They're not all going to work for everyone across the board, and we can actually see how they'll work based on our charts, but you don't need anyone to tell you this. You know what you resonate most with. So consider that in regards to how you can understand your fate based on your birth chart, make peace with it, and then engage your free will to decide, well, here's where I am, now where do I want to go? Remember, if you find yourself in a hole, the best way to quit making it worse is to stop digging and try to find a way up, try to find a way out of that hole. You can't help that you're in the hole, you're already there. But what you can do is find a way out. Okay, so next up we'll look at the role of the astrologer, because because this is something that's often overlooked and most people don't think too much about.